50 Cent, I'm telling you right now, he's not just trolling anymore. He's moving like someone who already knows how this ends. And that's what's making people uncomfortable. Because you remember how he treated Diddy, right? At first, everyone laughed, like, oh, that's just 50 being messy, posting memes, cracking jokes, doing his usual internet thing. But then it didn't stop. It escalated. And suddenly, Diddy wasn't a joke anymore. He was in real trouble. So now when 50 Cent turns that same energy toward Jay-Z, people are not laughing the same way. And the wild part is, 50 Cent is not even being subtle. He's literally saying Jay-Z replaced Diddy in hosting these private men-only parties. Not hinting, not implying, saying it out loud on his platform. And 50, he's not the type to just threaten something for attention. If he says he has something, he usually drops it. That's why people are watching this differently now. Because it feels like we've already seen this movie once, and now he's talking about a documentary. Not just a random YouTube rant, an actual project under his production. He's saying he has evidence. He's saying there are witnesses. And apparently, after he dropped that Diddy documentary, it shook things up enough that Jay-Z's legal team sent a warning letter. And let me tell you, that right there is what made people raise their eyebrows. Because why are you reacting to a documentary that's not even about you? That's when people started going, okay, something's off. Because think about it. Jay-Z has built his entire image on being untouchable. He doesn't respond. He doesn't explain. He just stays quiet and lets everything die down. That's been his strategy for decades. And honestly, it worked. Every rumor, every whisper, every little controversy, it just faded away because he never gave it oxygen. But now, that silence is starting to feel different. Now it's like, why aren't you saying anything? Because 50 Cent is not just making jokes anymore. He's putting things out there that are sticking. He even posted that old lyric Jay-Z rapped about having a young girl, not quite 21, and paired it with some very uncomfortable imagery. And people are like, wait a minute, that's not even an accusation. That's his own words. So now everything is being re-examined. And Jay-Z, still quiet. Not one public denial, not one interview, nothing. Just that one legal letter, and then back into the shadows. And in a situation like this, silence doesn't come across as powerful anymore. It starts to look like hesitation, like someone who doesn't know how to respond without making things worse. Because let's be real, if he speaks, he's acknowledging that this is serious. He's acknowledging 50 Cent as a real threat. But if he doesn't speak, then all these claims just sit there unanswered. And that's where it gets messy. Because now it's not just 50 Cent. It's coming from multiple directions. You've got the whole Epstein-file situation where his name was mentioned in a tip. Now listen, the report itself says it's unverified. The person even admitted their memory was unclear. So legally, it doesn't mean much. But once your name is in a government file tied to something like that, it's out there forever. People don't care about the fine print. They just hear Jay-Z and Epstein files in the same sentence, and that's enough to create noise. And then on top of that, you've got Nicki Minaj stepping in. At first, it sounded like a business issue. She's saying Jay-Z owes her somewhere between 100 and 200 million from the Tidal deal. That alone is already huge. But then she took it somewhere else entirely. Suddenly, she's posting about dark things, making very serious claims, and tying it all back to him. Now, you've got a major artist with a massive fan base putting pressure publicly, and again, no response. So now you're looking at the situation where it's not just one person talking, it's multiple narratives all pointing in the same direction. None of them individually are enough to prove anything, but together, it creates pressure. And that pressure is building fast because people are starting to notice the pattern. Every single thing that comes up gets met with silence. And what used to look like confidence is now starting to look like someone trying to wait it out, hoping it blows over. But here's the thing. This doesn't feel like something that just fades away anymore. And see, this is where it starts getting even more uncomfortable, because now people are bringing Diddy back into the conversation. And not just casually, like really looking at what happened to him and asking, is this the same pattern again? Because Diddy didn't fall overnight. It was slow at first. Rumors, whispers, lawsuits, people talking here and there. And then suddenly everything hit at once. The raids, the charges, the whole situation collapsing. And now Diddy is literally sitting in prison with a release date pushed to April 2028. And even that doesn't sound like relief when you realize he's still in there, still dealing with it, still part of a system that doesn't just forget. So when people say this could go federal, they're not being dramatic. They're looking at what already happened. And here's the scary part that people keep bringing up quietly. Diddy has nothing left to lose. And that's the kind of person you don't want connected to your name when things start getting serious, because if he decides to talk, if he decides to cooperate with anything, if he decides to say, let me tell you what really went on, there's no controlling that. And people are watching him closely, because even inside, he's still making headlines. There were reports about him making homemade fermented drinks in prison after telling the judge he had changed, that he was sober, that the old him was gone, and then immediately getting caught breaking rules again. That doesn't sound like someone who's stable or predictable. That sounds like someone who could say anything at any moment. So now imagine that energy being tied into everything else that's happening around Jay-Z. Because this isn't just about accusations anymore. It's about risk. Corporate risk, reputation risk. And that's where things move fast, whether there's proof or not. Look at how brands reacted to Diddy. They didn't wait for everything to be settled in court. They started pulling away as soon as things got loud enough. And Jay-Z has major partnerships. Roc Nation is still tied to the NFL, handling live music strategy, big events, major visibility. That's not small. That's one of the biggest stages in the world. But the question people are asking now is, how long does that last if the noise keeps getting louder? Because companies don't wait for truth. They react to perception. If staying connected starts to look risky, they leave. Simple as that. And that's why this whole situation feels like it's sitting on the edge of something. Because everything is already in motion. The posts, the documentary talk, the Epstein mentions, Nicki Minaj's claims, Diddy sitting in prison like a wild card, all of it is just waiting for one thing. A witness. That's what everyone keeps coming back to. Because right now, it's all pressure, not proof. 50 Cent is saying he has people who are ready to speak in the documentary. He's saying there are voices behind all of this. But until someone actually comes forward and says it publicly, it's still in that gray area. It's still something people can argue about. The moment one person steps out, though, everything changes. That's when it stops being gossip and starts becoming something else entirely. And that's why the tension is so high right now, because it feels like we're just waiting to see what drops first. Is it the documentary? Is it another post from 50 Cent that goes even further? Is it another file from the government that mentions his name again? Or is it someone finally speaking up? And through all of this, Jay-Z is still quiet. No denial, no statement. No, this is false. Nothing. And that's what people can't stop talking about, because in every other situation, someone at his level would at least try to control the narrative. Even if it's just one strong statement, something to reassure people, something to calm things down. But here, it's just silence. And the longer that silence goes on, the heavier everything starts to feel. Because now people are not just looking at what's being said, they're looking at what's not being said. And that's when old things start coming back up too. Like the paternity cases from years ago, legally, he won those. Courts dismissed them, even ordered one accuser to pay legal fees. On paper, that's a clean win. But then people point out, he never took a DNA test. Not once. And suddenly that question comes back. If you could end it completely, why not just do it? So now that sits alongside everything else. Not proof, just another question. And that's the pattern here. Every single piece on its own, not enough. But all of them together, it creates this feeling that something is building and nobody knows where it's going to break. And this is the part where it all starts to feel less like random noise and more like something slowly tightening around him. Because when you step back and really look at it, it's not just one story anymore, it's layers. Different people, different angles, different timelines, all somehow circling the same name. And the craziest part, none of it has actually been shut down. Because let's be honest, if Jay-Z came out tomorrow and said clearly and directly, this is false, this is nonsense, here's the truth, a lot of this would lose momentum instantly. That's how this works. Public denial, strong statement, maybe even legal action in the open, it calms things down. But that's not happening here. What's happening is silence. And silence in a situation like this starts to act like fuel because people fill in the gaps. And while all of this is building, 50 Cent is still right there, just watching, waiting, occasionally dropping something to keep it alive. And that's what makes him dangerous in this situation. He's not rushing it. He's letting it breathe. He's letting people connect the dots themselves. And every time something new pops up, it just adds to the same narrative he's been pushing. Now add Nicki Minaj back into this, because her situation didn't just disappear. She made a very specific claim about money, a huge number, and then she tied it into something much darker. And whether people believe her or not, that kind of statement doesn't just vanish, especially when she has a fan base that amplifies everything she says. So now you've got business tension, personal accusations, and public speculation all mixing together. And then there's the government side of it. That Epstein file mention, even if it's weak, even if it's unverified, it changed something. Because now his name exists in that space officially. It's documented, archived, and more files are expected to come out over time. So even if nothing major comes from it legally, the conversation stays alive. That's the real impact. Because public perception doesn't operate like a courtroom. It doesn't wait for proof beyond doubt. It reacts to patterns, to repetition, to the feeling that something isn't right. And right now, that feeling is growing. And then sitting quietly in the background of all of this is Diddy. Still in prison, still unpredictable, still a name tied into a lot of the same circles. And people can't stop thinking about that possibility. What if he talks? What if he decides to share something? What if something comes out from that direction? Because like we said, he has nothing to protect anymore. And that possibility alone is enough to keep everyone watching. But here's the thing that really stands out when you put all of this together. Jay-Z is not reacting like someone who's trying to control a situation. He's reacting like someone who's trying not to trigger something bigger. Because once he speaks, he can't take it back. Once he engages, the spotlight gets even brighter, so he stays quiet. But that silence has turned into its own problem. Because now every new development, every new post, every new mention, it all just stacks on top of that silence. And the more it stacks, the harder it becomes to ignore. It's like pressure building in a closed space. Nothing explodes right away, but you can feel it getting tighter, and people are starting to notice that too. Even the fact that he hasn't gone after 50 Cent directly, that's unusual. Because if someone was attacking your name this aggressively, wouldn't you at least try to discredit them, call out their past, point out inconsistencies? 50 Cent has his own history, his own connections, his own moments that could be questioned. And yet, Jay-Z hasn't touched any of that, not one direct response. And that's what makes people pause. Because if the messenger has flaws and you don't even use them to defend yourself, then people start asking why. Why not push back? Why not shut it down completely? And that question just hangs there. So now we're at this point where everything feels like it's waiting for that first real shift. That first moment where something undeniable drops, a witness speaking, a documentary actually releasing with solid backing, another file with stronger details, something that pushes this out of speculation and into something more concrete. Because right now, it's all tension, heavy, building, constant tension, and nobody looks fully in control of it. Not 50 Cent, because once he drops whatever he's planning, it goes beyond him. Not the public, because they're reacting to pieces as they come. And not Jay-Z, because he's in a position where every move has a consequence. So everything just sits there building. And the only real question left is simple. What drops first? Because once that first domino falls, this doesn't stay quiet anymore. It doesn't stay controlled. It moves fast. And at that point, silence won't work the way it used to. Right now, it's all about waiting. But once it starts, there's no pause button.